We're going to take a look at the Stylize category of video effects in this lesson. So go to Working Files, Projects, and go on down to 1003 Stylizing. Let's go take a look at the Stylize effects, clicking on the Effects tab, opening up Video Effects, and going on down to Stylize right there. And here are most of them. Can't see them all here, but you got most of them. Stylize effects tend to affect the color of a clip. We're going to work through these guys alphabetically by going to this clip over here and taking a look at it in the Effect Controls panel. And we're going to start with Alpha Glow. But you're going to notice that Alpha Glow is not applied to this clip. That's because this clip is a video clip, and Alpha Glow needs an alpha channel, needs some transparent area in the clip for it to work. And almost all video clips do not have transparency. They are solid top to bottom, left to right. So you need something that has transparency, and that's typically a graphic or text. I've got this little sign over here. The sign is floating on top of that clip in the background. I'll show you how that works by turning off the clip. There's the sign. It's transparent all around here. You can see it on top of the clip below it here inside the sequence. So I'm going to put a little glow on the sign here. So I clicked on it. I've got Alpha Glow already on it. And Alpha Glow, when it's in neutral, it already has a little glow. See the little glow pop on there around the edge? I'll turn it off for a second. And now it's back on. So the default setting is that it glows to begin with. Open up the settings here, and you can set how large the glow is going to be. From 0 to 100, that's as big as it gets, right there. And you can set the brightness. It's as bright as it can be right now, so you can dull it down a little bit as you pull it down. I'll pull back to 255. It has a tendency to jump there, but then it settles down. You can have a starting and ending color. The default is that it just has a start color and then fades off. That's the default behavior. If you turn off the fade out, it has this kind of hard edge to it like that. Fading out obviously is a more pleasing way to do things, but you have the option there. So I'm going to leave on fade out, and I want to use a second color. I want an end color. So let's have the start color be something other than white. I'll click on here and pick a color that's similar to the sign, so maybe some kind of goldish color like that perhaps. Let's see here. There you go. So that'll be the inside color there. You can see it popping on around there now. And the outside color right now is kind of a light gray, which is fine. Let me change it to something more obvious so you can see how that works. So I'll go to purple here. There you go. And you may not notice that it's purple necessarily, but let me zoom in on it a bit by going down to here, dropping the drop-down list and going, let's say, to 50%. Now you can see the purple edge there. Not that I would recommend putting purple there, but that at least lets you see how it works. All right, back to fit. There we go. Let's move back to this clip where we're going to run down the alphabetical list now and go to brush strokes. Now you'd think with brush strokes you could just paint some brush strokes on, something like that, but you can't. It just makes it look like you applied brush strokes. We turn that on, and immediately something has happened there. It's a little bit of an artistic look to it, but we'll make it more dramatic here when we go by the sort of neutral setting here. You can change the length of this brush stroke, and immediately things start happening there. Change the size of the brush up to 5. Oh, now it's much different, right? Stroke density, that has something to do with how it looks as well. Randomness to it. You can blend with the original, but that doesn't really work very well here because when you paint, it kind of distorts the location of the clip over the original, so it doesn't necessarily look good if you blend it with the original. And if you do want to kind of expand it by using the motion effect, you can get rid of that little edge to it if you want to. So that's brush strokes. Emboss and color emboss. Now they're not alphabetical because I want to show you emboss first. You've seen emboss before. I'll click on that. That's the neutral setting there. It finds edges and then makes them look like they're in some kind of relief like that. Open it up a bit here. You can change the direction like you're spinning light around it. You can increase the relief to make it even deeper like that. And you can increase the contrast to make it look really, really wild like that. And you can blend it with the original. You can have some of the original showing through. All these guys, again, of course, are animatable, keyframeable. Let me turn that off, and now we'll go to color emboss, which is just like emboss. It has the same controls, but it shows you the clip underneath at this time. So as I start moving things around here, you begin to see, yeah, we are embossing it, but the clip underneath it still shows through pretty dramatically. So I think it's more fun to use emboss. Nevertheless, that's how that works. Let's go down to find edges. Now I don't want to turn that one on just yet because it's so much fun. The way find edges works is that it does find the edges the way emboss does and then puts lines along the edges. And the edges are not just here, they're wherever there's contrast or dramatic color changes. So the edges inside here, edges along the leaves and along these branches here, there'll be edges everywhere. So you can put black color, black lines on a color background, or you can put colored lines on a black background. It's kind of cool. So let's go to Find Edges, turn that on. That's the default view. That's the black lines on the color. But if you invert it, then you get this view, this really cool looking colored lines on a black background. You can switch that back and forth. You can keyframe that on and off if you want to do that. Turn on, off, on, off. You can also blend it with the original a little bit too if you want to kind of bring in some of the original there like that. Mosaic looks for a pixel color and then puts a block around it that's exactly that pixel color. So if I turn on Mosaic, you're going to have 10 by 10 blocks. That's the default starting setting like that. You can increase the number of blocks. And the more blocks you have, the more like the original clip it becomes basically at some point. It begins to look like the original at some point. Although when you get to 200, 200 still has some kind of a blockiness to it. There's really no place when you can set it where it looks exactly like the original. What's really kind of cool is you take this to 200 like that, and you kind of stretch out that version, then take this down to nothing, and you get this kind of a streak look. And if you want to animate this, you keyframe this, you can have this be a transition. You can have the clip go from this, gradually look right, dissolves at the actual clip because you never really get it sharp here. Then if you want to transition out, you just do it backwards like that and transition out like that to the next clip. It's really pretty cool. You can use this as a transition if you want to keyframe that behavior. The way Posterize works is that it looks at the 3 color channels, red, green, and blue, and then sets a number of tonal values for each channel. So you can have as few as 2 tonal values, meaning on and off, basically red and black, blue and black, green and black, and where they mix, you get yellow and black, things like that. So that's Posterize with just 2 tonal values, on and off essentially. Red is on, red is off, green is on, green is off, that kind of thing. The more tonal values you have, the closer to the original you get. So as you get above, let's say 10 or so, it doesn't really have much effect anymore. But down here in the 3, 4, 5 range, it looks pretty cool. Replicate just duplicates this thing in some number of frames, kind of like a beehive. Turn that on. The default setting is 2 by 2. You can go up to 16 by 16, one step at a time there. It doesn't gradually go. It just goes change, 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 till it gets to 16 down to 2 by 2. Solarize is kind of like Posterize, but what Solarize does, it inverts it. So they invert like a color negative, and then you decide how much of the positive versus how much of the negative you want to mix together. So here's Solarize at 50%, basically with both of them mixed together. This is the totally inverted look, the total negative look, and here's the total positive look, and you just decide what degree you want to put them in like that. You can have that animate as well. Strobe light basically turns a clip on and off in terms of a solid color. The setting is white, so it goes like this. It just turns off, on, whatever. It just flips back and forth, which on its own may not be that interesting, but you can have a different color in the background, and you can keyframe the color. And you can blend with the original, which I'm not sure how well that works, but you can blend with it, so it kind of blinks on and off with the original showing through a little bit. You can set how long the strobe is and how often it happens. But the kind of cool thing that I like about it is that you can reveal the clip below it. So I've got a clip below here, the clouds. If I turn off this operates on color only and switch it to makes layer transparent, then it flips back and forth from that clip to that clip to that clip to that clip, something like that. There's one other feature here. I'll go down a little bit farther. Instead of going just back and forth to a solid color, you can also have it go back and forth to some other version of this one, like difference, which is like the invert. It goes to the negative, goes to the positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, something like that. So that's strobe. Threshold just makes a clip black and white. Not gray, but black and white. And the only setting you've got here is where does the black start, where does the white start? So right now we're at 128. When you look at the Luma values for pixels, they go from 0 to 255. So 128 is the center. So whatever is less than 128 is darker, and whatever is greater than 128 is brighter. So if you head towards white, you'll make everything black. You're saying all the white stuff's going to be black. Head towards black, you're going to make everything black-white. That's how threshold works. Now, I skipped 2 effects as we were going down the line here because they're not on this clip. Let me just scroll them down here. They're roughen edges and texturize. Let's start with roughen edges. Roughen edges works on the alpha channel. You need to have something with an alpha channel. And the best thing you can use roughen edges with is text. So I'm going to take this little guy over here and drag it over here like that and put it on top of this clip. There's our text that I spelled rough just for the purposes of this little demo. And roughen edges is applied to it, so I'm going to turn on roughen edges there. There you go. And it already has something going on. If you look closely, you begin to see that something's going on there. The edge has got a little kind of chunky there. Let me zoom in a bit. We'll go to 50% so you can see that a little better. And now I'm going to start messing with it. You can change the edge type from roughen to roughen color. You can have the color be different. I'm going to go to yellow so you can really see the color. It'll be just a little bit of a slight edge to it like that. Then you can start adjusting how this thing works by sort of pulling it in like that. There's this one little effect called rust. So if you put this thing on top, for instance, of a building, and yet the building's metal, for example, you can kind of pull it in and make it look like it's kind of rusting away, like it's all fading away. So you got this text laying on a building, and you can see the building showing through those little holes there. That's kind of a cool way to do it. You go back to the roughen color here. So you can change other issues about it as well, and put these guys in motion if you want to give them that kind of a wavy motion. So roughen edges is kind of fun. You can also apply alpha glow to text as well, as I showed you alpha glow on that sign here, but it works well in text as well, anything with an alpha channel. And now we're going to go to the last one, and that's texturize down here. Texturize requires another clip to work. So I'm going to go over here and show you texturize. I applied texturize to this clip on the bottom. So let me get rid of the roughen edges text there. I'm going to put this thing back out to fit. Now we're looking at this clip on the bottom. On the bottom, we've got texturize on it. And texturize has this one feature that says texture layer. Where is the texture layer? What is the thing that's going to cause this clip to look different? The texture layer in this case is going to be video 2. But nothing happens because I need to take video 2 and drop its opacity so it's not covering it up. So I'm going to go to opacity for video 2 and knock it to 0. And now, that little clip on top with the mountain, you can start seeing how it's causing this clip on the bottom to have texture. If this were a brick wall, for example, you'd have this brick wall going across here. Or a couple of leaves, and they would give texture to it. So let me click on this one to turn it back on. You can make it bigger, make it more obvious like that, up to 2. You can't go beyond 2. Change the light direction as you've done before. So that's texturize. You have to work with a second clip on it to apply texture that other clip creates, kind of like putting emboss on this clip and somehow getting it in this one down below like that. So texturize requires 2 clips. So that is a rundown on the stylize effects. I think they give you all kinds of colorful options.